It's March 19th of 2025. I'm at home on a day off, ready to walk my dog at about 4 in the afternoon. My dad's at the house working, my mom's down in the basement working, so I'm all by myself for this walk. To give you some context, my mom and the guy who lived down the street that I was gonna walk her on were having a little back and forth for about 3 months up to this point. Now the good thing was when my parents went down this road, he didn't seem to have a problem with them being there when they saw each other in person. But obviously because this guy was a little bitch and he didn't want to face front and center the people he was having a conflict with and talk it out, he put up signs saying that we were banned from the entire road and that he'd call the police and eventually the whole street would call the police if we went down there. But the good and honestly pretty funny part about this was that he didn't actually own the road, so he couldn't legally tell us not to go down there. And obviously because he didn't want to face my parents front and center, we just kept going down there. But for me, I hadn't had to face him myself yet. So as I've left the house and I'm at the edge of my driveway, ready to go down the street, which is right across from us, which is his road, as he claimed, he comes down out of the road on his ATV and he drives up the street, which is not even legal to do in my state, and he sees me. However, he keeps going, so I proceed to walk my dog down the road. But as we're at the top of the street, he comes right back down and around me until he stops his ATV right next to me to the left. Obviously, because he stopped right beside me, I know what's about to happen. He's gonna try to kick me off the street. This chubby, middle-aged white guy who rides around on a four-wheel funmobile all day and owns one of the 4 houses on a street thinks he owns the entire property and has the right to kick off the entire family because he couldn't handle some light controversy. He says to me, "Oh, you're not gonna go down to the gravel, right?" Which leads right down to the path that we walk our dog. And I'm just like, yeah, we do this every day. Of course I'm gonna do it. He basically told me, "Oh, I told your parents you guys can't come down here. I'm gonna call the police if I see you," and all that fucking bullshit. He keeps on yapping. I'm just like, all right, yeah, whatever. I go back to my house. I go in, my dad's in the living room, and I basically tell him what's up, what's going on. He gets up immediately, we go down there together, and this is where shit really gets fucking heated. As we cross the street and enter the road, we see him coming down from the top of it on his little fucking Barbie car, and we are not prepared for what's about to erupt. He tells us the same shit, you know, you can't come down here, the police will be called, and he's trying to block us off at the top of the road using his ATV as like a fucking weapon or something. Me and my dad know full well that this guy owns nothing but the house down there. So my dad, who knows way more than I do, starts telling him, you know, we know this is not your property. We've seen the property owner and all that sort of stuff. He argues back and it's like, no, that guy doesn't own the property. Just spitting out blatant lies one after another, seeming so confident in what he's saying. The arguing only progresses. Now they're full blown yelling back and forth at each other. The guy seems to only be getting more and more aggressive in his nature, and he starts to stand up as my dad described, almost to seemingly want to fight my dad, until he says something that escalates the situation to a whole nother fucking degree. He says something along the lines of, you know, if your wife wasn't being a fucking cunt, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. But we do not get to hear the end of that sentence, as straight away, me and my dad pull out the fuck yous, my dad pulls out the middle fingers, I get really pissed and angry, I tell him to go fucking off himself. As I've walked across the road and going back home, I say, "Fuck you, you piece of shit," and my dad calls the cops. 10 minutes later, we have multiple cop cars parked in our driveway. I'm in the bathroom when this happens, so I'm sort of coming down, I see them out the window, and I join my dad outside where he's basically just explaining everything that happened. He tells them basically everything that led up to this, the controversy. He shows them the signs that he left for us on the street. He tells them what he called my mom, how he was sort of blocking us off from the entire road with what I like to call his 4-wheel funmobile, even though he doesn't even own the street, he owns one house, like I said, and all that sort of stuff. We get asked a few questions. My mom's still downstairs working, which I find kind of funny since the whole situation started between them. But now it's just me and my dad trying to work everything out with the police. After we've told them everything we could, they start heading down the road to confront the beast of the matter himself. Obviously, after questioning him, they came to the conclusion that the property was indeed not his. but we would need a permission slip from the actual owner in order to go back down there again. I think around a few days later, my mom tried to get in touch with the actual owner, but she didn't really get a response back from him. But in the end, I honestly think it was for the best. Fast forward to today, and where I'm filming is our present walking location. It's not as convenient as being right across the street. It's about 5 minutes away, but it's much better, and clearly it's more beautiful. We now have a sign in our yard actually that says FCL, and if you haven't been living under a rock for the past year or so, and you know that CL are his initials, then I think you can infer what this means. Anyway, since this whole ordeal, nothing too crazy has happened between my family and him. I think he one time threw a banana peel at the sign. He revs up his bike more as he drives by our house, but he's pretty tucked away down there in his little kingdom, his little road there. So we don't get to see too much of him at all, which is a good thing. That whole week when this happened though was honestly pretty rough for myself. I had like a really bad customer interaction. I basically just threw 2 cups on the table. Then they started yelling at me, like the kids started coming towards me, yelling pretty viciously. I think he was asking, you know, you gotta watch who you're hiring to the managers. But besides that, I was having some trouble sleeping as well. I think I got 3 hours of sleep that night that actually happened. And it was just some rough stuff going on at work and home, I think. But like I like to say, you can't have a rainbow without the rain clouds sometimes. In the end, I think this whole situation was actually of benefit, at least for myself. It brought about us switching up our walk location, which brings these beautiful views that you see right behind me here. And it sort of made me appreciate the times where there's less conflict and chaos going on that much more. I wouldn't be here presenting this story to you if it never happened. I wouldn't have this crazy story to tell my grandkids, my children, or just people I meet along the way. See these situations long term as being less so of a negative. See them as building experience, exposure, and building resilience and toughness when times get hard. In the moment, I may not have been able to see this through, but having this whole situation happen was worth it now. And it could be the same for you. I hope this message helped you today, my friend. As always, keep putting in that work towards becoming at least 1% better each and every day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay grounded, my G. Woo!